you know, go and yeah, just ripped them out and then like painted backgrounds and
Oh, cool.
sent them like to our friends. It was like my senior, so I mailed them to my friends like as we dispersed all over the country. And these were the
Neat.
three I kept from, but they're like all over the
That's super cool.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey,
Melissa.
I'm getting a message that my internet connection is unstable today. So, so we'll see. Hopefully I won't get knocked off. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
So let's start with the, let's see, let's get up to the opening invocations. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I will, we'll start with an Om together. Hi, Sarah. And then I'll lead the invocation once, call and response, although I won't hear you responding. And then we'll do it 2 more times together. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Namo Gurave Namaha. Om Namo Gurave Namaha. 2 more times together. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Namo Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Namo Gurave Namaha. Hi, everyone. So, in thinking today about today's class, and the work that I've been doing lately, also with, I've been doing a Tattva Bodha and a Purva Mimamsa class with 2 professors in India, and working with the Yoga Sutras book 3, and also with book 1 as I prepare the meditation deck. You know, when you start to get into, you know, the language and the philosophy, and therefore with the philosophy, the spirituality, it's a little bit like as opposed to the just the vibration of the language. They're 2 very different energies. One of the things that I like about the tradition in which I learned Sanskrit is that it really tries to see and give weight and give importance to both knowing the language, knowing the grammar and the specifics of the language, and you can get as deeply into the philosophy and the technical language of the text as you want. and also just the vibration of the Sanskrit. So it's a little bit like the difference between like learning about the chemical reaction of photosynthesis, and, you know, how plants are, the structure of plants and the roots, and how the plants get, you know, how they absorb nutrients and water from the soil, versus like just putting your nose in the grass. I mean, they're two very different experiences, but both can be enlightening in very different ways. And, you know, the technical language of Sanskrit, the technical language that is part of a text like the Yoga Sutras, you know, if you start to do a really deep dive into the Yoga Sutras, you will come up against the fact that it's sort of like learning the technical language for, you know, if you are discussing semiotics, the word sign and signifier means something very different from what it means if you're just having a conversation with a friend. And similarly, you know, you can't really participate in certain kind of technical discussions in almost any field without knowing the vocabulary. And the vocabulary in the Yoga Sutras is very specific to ongoing philosophical arguments that were happening about, you know, that were happening and continue to happen, and that people continue to have, about the nature of reality, about what's real. And there's a technical language in Sanskrit, which with its basis in Samkhya, which almost all of the 6 darshanas in Indian philosophy relate to, about how we perceive and what we perceive, and whether or not, how we know what's real and what is real. There's a lot of differences between, you know, what's understood to be real, and also how you're supposed to deal with what is or isn't reality. Like, for example, if you get into something like the Vijnana Bhairava, which is a Kashmir Shaivism, a text from Kashmir Shaivism, they very much have the notion that, like, meditation, there's a lot of meditation techniques in the Vijnana Bhairava, and but you're supposed to work with what comes up, because the idea is related to that the physical world is a manifestation of the Atman. And so the physical world is considered to be real. And like, if you feel anger or distress or desire, like, you know, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, work with that feeling. And the Yoga Sutras is not that. The Yoga Sutras, the definition of meditation and the idea of meditation, and these various different Indian philosophies also have different ideas about what meditation is. In the Yoga Sutras, meditation is, you pick a point, you put all your attention to that point until something else happens, until the boundaries break down between yourself and the object of meditation, whatever the object of meditation is, whether it's internal or external, and you have an experience of reality that moves you beyond the experience of the physical, and where you actually connect to whatever it is that is the subject of meditation on a level that is beyond the physical, that is moving into the experience of unmanifest reality. So in the Yoga Sutras, reality, the physical world as we see it, is real. That's Prakriti. It is real. And Purusha is also real. And these two things, the spirit and or the self, soul, whatever you want to call it, and physical reality, both of them are real, and never the twain shall meet. They don't do this, but we think they do this. And the whole point of the Yoga Sutras is to change our understanding so that we recognize that we're this, and we're just watching that, but that there's no interaction between them. In Tantra, or, you know, Kashmir Shaivism, they dance, they interact. There's movement between them. In Advaita Vedanta, they are both part of a bigger reality. They're both, and what we perceive, the physical world, is actually not considered real. It is considered mithya, an appearance. It's not real. It's not that it doesn't exist, but it is an appearance. That is not the same as Samkhya. There are people who put a Vedantic reading on the Yoga Sutras, and, you know, so, and that a text like this exists throughout time not because people stick to exactly what was meant by the people who wrote it, but because, or the people who put it together, because Patanjali didn't make it up, he just compiled it. But because people are able to find something of value for themselves in it, which is why, like, although sometimes it's easy to get, kind of huffy about certain modern takes on the Yoga Sutras or on yoga practice, period. It's not really to the point, because yoga practice and the Yoga Sutras, all these things are going to outlast all of us. And whatever it's good to understand the history of it and to understand the technical language, but it's also good to have an immediate experience, that experience of putting your nose in the grass of what it is. And whatever it is, whatever comes up for you in that way is part of the practice. The whole point of it, it's like, I think the Dalai Lama said once, the point of meditation is not to get good at meditation. The point of meditation is to, he said some version of to know yourself as the self. So the point of the Yoga Sutras is not to understand the Yoga Sutras. The point of the Yoga Sutras is to know yourself as the self. And any way that that works, any aspect of the Yoga Sutras that helps you have that experience is very important and valid for you. It's easy to get kind of lost in some of the technical language and the technical details and all that. And then there's just the vibration of something like the Yoga Sutras, and then there's the Sanskrit language. So we're going to start again. We're going to just chant the alphabet. Perhaps we'll just do it one time. But again, I'm going to show you this book by Dr. David Frawley, who Pandit Varnadeva Shastri, Mantra Yoga and Primal Sounds. So let's see. So I'm just going to read you a little bit of that before we chant the alphabet too. Whether Sanskrit is called the universal language or the language of the gods, it is no mere exaggeration. Sanskrit reflects the primal sounds through which the entire universe is created, by which it is sustained and into which it is eventually dissolved. These primal sounds of the universe are embodied in the Sanskrit letters. Sanskrit is not just another human language invented for the purposes of social convenience, but a cosmic language. So I think I've mentioned before, much the same way that you need to learn a technical language in order to speak, in order to converse with people, and that each language determines how you think. Sanskrit is a language that is especially connected, it is focused on ideas of answering the questions of what is reality, who am I, how do I, what is God, is there a God, why am I here? And all of that technical vocabulary and most of the Sanskrit is designed, even the way it makes you think, is to make you think about the nature of being. The letters of the Sanskrit alphabet allow the human mind to interface with the primal energies of cosmic intelligence and receive the deeper insights. Sanskrit, as it were, allows us to think with the gods as one of the gods ourselves. Through a right understanding of the Sanskrit alphabet, we can unite our individual self with the universal self and regain our inner voice in the world of eternity. The letters of the Sanskrit alphabet hold the primary sounds behind all other mantras. They are said to be the matrikas, which means prime measures or mothers. There was something else I wanted to read, but he also because I want to get to the chanting also, he talks about, as I've talked about before, the difference between the different kinds of the letters in the Sanskrit alphabet. So just try to feel it more than necessarily think about it when we're chanting the alphabet. But here's it, the three basic types of sounds. The Sanskrit language is based upon a clear understanding of the science of sound, which forms the basis for mantra practice. Sounds contain many, let's see, there's first of all the vowels, which, you know, like A, E, I, O, U, you know that. These are called svara in Sanskrit, or that which resonates, as they are the open sounds that can be drawn out. So that's the heart and soul of the language. The consonants are the closed sounds that are used to project the energy of the vowels in different directions. So the Sanskrit, the vowels are like, the consonants are like prakriti. They define the vowels, they contain the vowels. You can't really have a word that's just consonants. That's not really possible to express. But the consonants give structure and form and a vehicle for the vowels. And then there's the semivowels and the sibilants. And the semivowels are that which stands between, because they mediate between the vowels and the consonants. And the sibilants are called that which creates heat. The sibilants are also considered a special in reflecting their connection with the sounds of the breath. All right, you guys ready to chant the alphabet? Let me share the screen. All right, and we'll start with an Om. So how do you want to chant it together, or do you want me to do call and response? Does anybody, because all of you have done it before, so it's pretty familiar to all of you, right? Okay, let's do it together. And we'll just go through the whole thing. I think I'm going to do another Om and raise it a little higher, so we're not singing, do it quite so low. I, u, r, r, r. A, I, O, ow, ah, k, k, g, g, ng, ch, ch, j, j, n, t, t, d, d, n, t, t, d, d, n, pa, pa, ba, ba, ma, yara, lava, sha, sha, saha, cha, tra, nya, om. All right, so we'll go back to do the chanting, and then it's especially important to have talked about the vibration of Sanskrit, since the sutras that we're going to start with when we start talking about it today are the ones on Om. And Om is, of course, you know, the primary mantra, and is certainly the mantra that the Yoga Sutras considers most important. There we go, I think that's one. Okay, can you see it? The Yoga Sutras, is that what's projecting? Okay. Om. Atta yoga nushasanam. Again. Atta yoga nushasanam. Yogash chitta vritti nirodha. Yogash chitta vritti nirodha. Tadadrastu svarupe vasanam. Tadadrastu svarupe vasanam. Vritti sarupyam itaratra. Vritti sarupyam itaratra. Vrittayaha panchatayaha klishta klishtaha. Vrittayaha panchatayaha klishta klishtaha. Pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritayaha. Pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritayaha. Pratyakshanumanagamaha pramananihi. Pratyakshanumanagamaha pramanani. Viparyayo mityagyanam atadrupa pratishtam. Viparyayo mityagyanam atadrupa pratishtam. Shabda jnananupati vastu shunyo vikalpaha. Shabda jnananupati vastu shunyo vikalpaha. Abhava pratyaya lambana vrittir nidra. Abhava pratyaya lambana vrittir nidra. Anubhuta vishaya sampramoshaha smritihi. Anubhuta vishaya sampramoshaha smritihi. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tannirodha. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tannirodha. Tatra stitau yadno vyasaha. Tatra stitau yadno vyasaha. We'll break this one up. Satu dirga kala. Satu dirga kala. Nairantarya Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Drida Bhumihi Satkara Sevito Drida Bhumihi Satu Dirga Kala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Drida Bhumihi Satu Dirga Kala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Drida Bhumihi Drishtanushravika Vishaya Vitrishnasya Drishtanushravika Vishaya Vitrishnasya Vashikara Samya Vairagyam Vashikara Samya Vairagyam Tat Param Purushakyater Gunavaitrishnam Tat Param Purushakyater Gunavaitrishnam Vitarka Vichara Ananda Asmita Vitarka Vichara Ananda Asmita Rupanugamat Sampragnataha Rupanugamat Sampragnataha Virama Pratyaya Vyasa Purva Samskara Sheshonyaha Virama Pratyaya Vyasa Purva Samskara Sheshonyaha Bhava Pratyayo Videha Prakriti Layanam Bhava Pratyayo Videha Prakriti Layanam Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Prajna Purvaka Itaresham Prajna Purvaka Itaresham Tivra Samveganam Asanaha Tivra Samveganam Asanaha Mridu Madhyadi Matratvat Tatopi Visheshaha Mridu Madhyadi Matratvat Tatopi Visheshaha Ishvara Pranidhanadva Ishvara Pranidhanadva Klesha Karma Vipakashayer Klesha karma vipakashayer aparamristaha purusha vishesha ishvaraha aparamristaha purusha vishesha ishvaraha tatra niratishayam sarvanyatva bijam sarvanyatva bijam sapurvesham api guruhu sapurvesham api guruhu kalena vachedat kalena vachedat tasya vachakaha pranavaha tasya vachakaha pranavaha tad japas tadartha bhavanam tad japas tadartha bhavanam tatha pratyak chetana digamo tatha pratyak chetana digamo yantaraya bhavashcha yantaraya bhavashcha vyadisyana samshaya vyadisyana samshaya pramadalasya virati pranti darshana labda bhumikatva pranti darshana labda bhumikatva anavastitatvani chitta vikshepastentarayaha chitta vikshepastentarayaha tukka daumanasyangam ejatva tukka daumanasyangam ejatva swasa praswasa swasa praswasa vikshepa saha bhuvaha vikshepa saha bhuvaha tat pradishedartam eka tatvabhyasaha maitri karuna mudito pekshanam maitri karuna mudito pekshanam sukha dukkha punya sukha dukkha punya vishayanam Pavanatashchitta prasadanam. Pavanatashchitta prasadanam. Pracharana vidaranabhyam va pranasya. Pracharana vidaranabhyam va pranasya. Vishayvativa pravritir utpannaha pana. Vishayvativa pravritir utpannaha pana. There's not a visarga there, sorry. Manasaha stiti nibandani. Manasaha stiti nibandani. Vishokava jyotishmati. Vishokava jyotishmati. Vita raga vishayam vachitam. Vita raga vishayam vachitam. Swapna nidra jnana lambanam va. Swapna nidra jnana lambanam va. Yatta vimata dhyanadva. Yatta vimata dhyanadva. Paramanu parama mahatvanto. Paramanu parama mahatvanto. Asya vashikaraha. Asya vashikaraha. Kshinavritir abhijatasyeva. Kshinavritir abhijatasyeva. Maner grahitra grahana grahyeshu. Maner grahitra grahana grahyeshu. Tatsa tad anjanata samapatihi. Tatsa tad anjanata samapatihi. Tatra shabdartha jnana vikalpai. Tatra shabdartha jnana vikalpai. Shankirna savitarka samapatihi. Sankirna savitarka samapatihi. Smriti parisudao. Smriti parisudao. Swarupa shunye varta. Swarupa shunye varta. Matra nirbasa nirvitarka. Matra nirbasa nirvitarka. Etayaiva sarvichara nirvichara cha. Etayaiva sarvichara nirvichara cha. Sukshma vishaya vyakyata. Sukshma vishaya vyakyata. Sukshma vishaya tvam. Sukshma vishaya tvam. Chalinga paryavasanam. Chalinga paryavasanam. Ta eva sabija samadhi. Ta eva sabija samadhi. Nirvichara vaisharadye dhyatma prasadaha. Nirvichara vaisharadye dhyatma prasadaha. Ritambara tatra prajna. Ritambara tatra prajna. Shrutanumana prajnabhyam. Shrutanumana prajnabhyam. Anya vishaya visheshartvat. Anya vishaya visheshartatvat. Tajja samskaro. Tajja samskaro. Anya samskara pratibandhi. Anya samskara pratibandhi. Tasyapi nirode sarva nirodan nirbija samadhi. Tasyapi nirode sarva nirodan nirbija samadhi. Om. So before we start talking about the sutras where we were, does anybody have any? How do you feel after having chanted all of book one? How does that feel for you? What? Anybody? Feel like you buried your nose in the grass, or do you feel like your head was in the washing machine, or neither? No comments? All right, well, welcome.
I think a little bit of both. Like it's starting, I mean, this is the second time we've made it all the way through.
Right.
And so it's starting to feel more familiar.
Mhm.
Like, especially for the first part, I can find that I can even chant them with you, which is nice. And it feels like more natural. It is interesting. I've noticed, like, every time we've done it, when we get to 1:30 and you see it's just, it's a long one.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because it both visually and then also in terms of all the sounds, that one for me really carries the weight of also what that sutra is about.
Right.
It's like, oh, you want to be confused? Well, here's a really confusing long thing, at least for me to say.
Right.
So that one always kind of, it's like a humbling and interesting one that I connect with the sounds on.
Yeah, and it's funny for me, that one too. Like when I'm chanting by myself, I don't have any problem chanting it. But every time I get it, trying to get in the group, I'm like, so first of all, like I have it, I know the other ones practically by heart, but that one, even actually Dr. Sharma would just go, etc., like that kind of thing. And Dr. Sharma was like brilliant, brilliant. But also I realized, like, I'm not really seeing it because of the near vision in my eyes. So that's why I started like making the screen bigger. So it didn't occur to me when I got to that one this time that I could make the screen bigger. And I was like, I'm not even sure I can read this right now. But it's interesting because as in the class that I taught at Love Story before, the Sanskrit class, at one point we did a lot with the vibration, and we also chanted. We chanted the and I talked about like chanting just the consonants of just the vowels 108 times, like use a mala bead to chant them, and like that, just chanting the vowels of the Sanskrit alphabet 108 times. Like you sort of feel this energetic, like whoosh, you just like, it just shifts your vibration in a way that like it makes no sense. It makes no sense that would happen, but it does. And I would say that chanting the sutras does not have that same, it has an effect, but it's not the same, like, it's not the same. So I just think it's really interesting. It is, like, I would say it's a little bit of that combination of, there's a little bit of having had your mind in the washing machine, and Sri Ramananda Saraswati called Sanskrit the washing machine of the mind. So, you can definitely feel it. Here it is, the Vyadis, Yanas. All right, well, so so all this discussion of the vibration of Sanskrit, like I said, is appropriate because at the last class we were talking about Ishvara. And to say that we finished talking about Ishvara would, of course, be a vast overstatement. There's no such thing as being able to finish talking about Ishvara. Although perhaps there's no such thing as really being able to start talking about it either. So here's after the discussion of Ishvara in the Yoga Sutras, the next one is this one. Tasya vachakaha pranavaha. Tasya vachakaha pranavaha. So have I not? I guess I haven't done the breakdown of the words yet for this one. Pranava is Om, and it is the first sound. So the word tasya, that is said or expressed by Om. So Om expresses Ishvara, is what, or God, is what this sutra says. But the idea is that Om is how you call Ishvara, Om is how you connect to Ishvara, Om is how you experience Ishvara, Om is everything about Ishvara. Any comments, questions, observations? So, and in the book, the Bija mantras and mantra yoga, obviously Om is considered like the primary mantra, although other traditions rely heavily on other mantras as well, other Bija mantras. tad japas tad artha bhavanam, tad japas tad artha bhavanam. So let's see. Tad pasya is, let's look at that and that. So tad is again of it. Japas is, the repetition, japa, the repetition of mantras. So by the repetition of that, the artha is like the meaning or the let's see, the tad artha, the meaning or the purpose. And bhavanam is like from bu to be. So so from the repetition of that, you have an experience of the realization. You feel the bhav. You are its meaning. So the repetition and meditation upon Om. So japas is not just repetition, but also the meditation upon Om leads to the realization, the actual experience of what it means, of what it's about. Tataha pratyak chetana digamo pyantaraya bhavascha. Tata pratyak chetana digamo pyantaraya bhavascha. So from that, from that tataha, pratyak chetana is the state of consciousness, the realization of the chetana, of the self. So from that practice, the realization of the self and the antaraya are the obstacles, and the removal of the obstacles. Abhavas, the absence. Abhava also appeared in sleep, which has as its lambana, as its basis, abhava. So bhav again is from bu, to be, and abhava is non-being. So the repetition of Om. So the repetition of Om leading to the removal of obstacles and the realization of Ishvara, the experience of Ishvara and the realization of Ishvara. Our discussion about what Ishvara is, has some meaning in terms of how you feel this to happen. If you think of Ishvara as a god, somewhat like a, of a more like the Western, then you have the idea of this, like of Om being something like a magical wand, or like a praying to God to remove the obstacles. But my feeling about Om, that Om is what, and this we had some disagreement about last time, like whether or not you think of Om as everything that is all the time, everywhere, no exceptions. That if you, that the whole notion of totally accepting and loving what is, of surrendering to a power higher than you that is in charge and that is manifesting all of this, or that is making all this happen, or holding the space for all of this to happen, that that also breaks down the boundaries that we imagine separate us. And then so that Om removes obstacles, not by acting like a magic wand, but that most of the obstacles come from our sense of isolation and the sense of I-ness, the sense that I'm the one that has to make it happen. And I have to take care of myself, and I have to make sure that I feel happy and safe and comfortable. And if you let go of that, if you surrender to a higher power and allow for what is, then whether you consider there to be one Atman that we're all part of, or whether you think of it in a different way, the boundaries between us are broken down, and in that way, obstacles are removed. Does anybody else have any, so Om dispels the illusion of separation, and in doing so eradicates all possible obstacles. Does anybody else have any experience that or thoughts about that?
So you're very good at asking big questions 3 minutes before the end of the hour.
I'm so sorry. It's not my fault. It's the Yoga Sutras.
You should have waited 2 more minutes.
I can go 2 minutes late if you want. So go ahead, Vinay. Dig in.
It's all right.
Yeah. We can start back up with this one next time before, if anybody can come up with if there's any other over the next. So given that we did all this work with like the vibration over this week, all you can do is chant Om. And then next time, I won't start with the big lecture about the vibration of Sanskrit. And you can all just tell me what your experience was of doing this, of the Tad-japas tadarta bhavanam, of repeating and of japas on Om, and see if that removes all your obstacles, and report back in. And then, so after it tells you that it'll remove all the obstacles, just in case you had any confusion about what obstacles are, it's going to give you a list. So here we go with the list of obstacles. And we can start back up with the list of obstacles. But I will just say before we end, I think it's good to see this list of obstacles as like, when you encounter them, you are clearly on the path because you're encountering obstacles. And there's supposed to be obstacles on the path. All right. Any comments before we end? Any comments, questions?
Well, so I mean, I obviously have a lot to say about these sutras, and these 3 happen to be the one that I'm currently studying.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so me, it's really fresh in my mind, and there is a lot to say about them. So if we have more time next week devoted to discussion, maybe we can start from there.
Why don't we do that? Before we chant, why don't we start by talking about these 3 sutras? Because I think that would be great. And I think it'd be great for everybody to spend time with these 3 sutras this week. And we'll start the next class by talking about these sutras. I would really enjoy that.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Let's end with an Om, and I'll see you all next week. Dhanyavada. Thank you all very, very much. See you next week. And we'll start off by talking about those sutras.
Okay.
Great.
We'll hold you to it. Thanks,
Good,
Melissa.
I'd like to. I love that idea. I think it's a fantastic
Great.
idea. I look forward to it. Thank
Cool.
you. All right.
See you soon.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you, Melissa. This was like my favorite class so far. It was so fun.
Oh, good, good, great. I really enjoyed it too. All right. See you next time.